year 4 is when we got contacted by Shark Tank, and really what had happened as the slow yeses were happening. What we came to the realization was that no one was going to go out and market our product to the homeowners. Like, I could go out and show the window manufacturers that this is the greatest thing in the world. It doesn't get damaged as easy. Our remake rate is like 0.03%. It's ridiculously low. It's
wow.
It's nominal. It's almost a rounding error.
Right.
So, hey, it doesn't get damaged as easy. It hides in the screen pocket. You don't have to have color matching. We could tote all of the amazing benefits to the window manufacturers. But if it didn't get to the window dealers and then didn't get to the homeowners, they didn't care. Like, hey, if the homeowner isn't demanding this, then I can't sell it to my dealers. So we were like, all right, well, what do we do? And this was the first major shift in our company where I said, you know what? We're not going to be salesmen anymore. We're going to be marketers.
This is the Wealthy Contractor Podcast, brought to you by G4 Marketing. Interviews with today's top home improvement entrepreneurs about marketing, sales, money, mindset, and lifestyle. Now, here's your host, Brian Kaskavalciyan.
All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Wealthy Contractor Podcast. This is Brian Kaskavalciyan with G4 Marketing Group. And today I have a first. I have a TV star on with us today. I have Joe Altieri from Flex Screen, and you may know Joe. I think a lot of people that listen to this podcast watch Shark Tank, and Joe was on Shark Tank not once, right, but twice. Got a deal with Lori. He's got an incredible product and an incredible story, and I am really excited to have you here. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you so much. That is quite the introduction, and I am. I think I'm only famous in my own mind. So, but I appreciate you.
You're kind of famous to me.
Well, I appreciate it. Yeah. Look, the remodeling industry, the construction industry has very few people that end up on national TV. So, if I'm the guy, so be it.
Right. No, that's great.
So, hey, quick story. So, I have teenage daughters. All right. So this is great. I have 2 teenage daughters. Right after we aired. About a month after we aired, we flew down. We were going to we go down to Aruba every year for a little vacation. We're in the Florida airport, hitting our connection, and then we had these people run up, and they're like, "I told you he was the guy from Shark Tank." And my daughter's like, "Oh my God, Dad, you are so embarrassing." So that was like my one out of state, locally, I'm at the gas station. People are like, "Hey, Joe, what's going on?" So, yeah, but that was my one out of state recognition. So.
Yeah, nice. Oh yeah, the teenage daughters have to love that.
Oh, I did a talk with my one daughter's class, her whole class. They asked me to do like a little thing about my story, and she's like, "Oh my goodness, Dad, I can't believe you're doing that," but whatever. So I can't tell if they're proud or if they're like embarrassed or they don't know, but whatever.
I think when they get older, they'll appreciate it.
I hope so.
So I met you a few weeks ago at Tony Hody's event, and you did a presentation that I thought was just fantastic. And I came up to you afterwards and I said, you got to come on the podcast, because what you did was you told us this Flex Screen story, which was great. But what I really loved was that you didn't have a problem going into the mindset part of your story and the business and all of the stuff that you've been through. So let's start with, for those that don't know your story. I mean, look, getting on TV and going on Shark Tank, everybody thinks, oh, it's this big glamorous thing. And Joe was already killing it before, but to get to where you got, it took a lot before. So tell us that story. Tell us how you came up with the product and how you got yourself over, onto national TV, and then kind of where you are now.
So, Flex Screen is a flexible window screen. And I've been in the window and door industry for about 20 years. I was a manufacturer's sales rep. So I sold pieces and parts to the window manufacturers. One of the things that I sold a lot of was window screens. Most window screens are not produced by window manufacturers anymore. They're actually produced by large window screen companies. There's 2 big ones in the United States. Flex Screen is a distant third now at this point. But so I worked for one of them as an independent rep, and my customers were really frustrated with the product. these two companies are not bad. They just have a product that's prone to damage. Painted aluminum is a throwback. Metal window screens with a rubber spline were invented in the early 1900s. So literally nothing has changed in over 100 years. So I just started, it was just a hobby. I said, man, something has to be better than this. Something has to be better than a 5% reject rate. And so I set up a little workshop in my garage. Literally, I pulled my wife had a Yukon XL at the time, which was the only thing that fit in our garage, pulled it out and said, honey, I'm going to do this for, nights and weekends, and just, you're going to lose your parking spot for a little while. 2 years later, of nights and weekends, I came out and I had this really rough prototype. It was made out of things that I could buy at Lowe's and Home Depot and Grainger, and I filed some IP. I thought I had something. I was a screen guy. I knew screens. And I'm like, man, this thing's pretty neat. I wonder if anybody else is going to be interested. But we filed some IP, and I started showing it off to people in our industry and just said, man, what do you think about this? And they said, build it and we will come. As a matter of fact, I had about 12 of them write fantastic letters. No one was willing to give a commitment on something that had never been built before.
Yeah.
But they did as much as they could up to that point. Like, hey, this is a great product. We can't wait till it's commercialized. We hope that Joe considers us as one of the first people to come on board. And so with those letters, I got some investors together, and we put together a lot of money. It took a couple $1 million to open up the first flex screen facility, and got started, went out to those, 12 companies and said, look, you guys wrote these letters. I did this, look, check this out. And they're like, cool. That's awesome. Who else is using it? What about the home? Yeah. It's the window and door industry. It's
right.
I think the way that I put it is, the slow yes.
Yeah.
No one said no. I still haven't had one company that's like, yeah, your product's terrible. We don't like it. We don't like you, whatever the case may be. I haven't had one company say no, but man, have I had a lot of slow yeses through the years. So, we have a couple $1 million wrapped up in a plant that, our first year we did $400,000 in business, in total revenue. That certainly wasn't profits. That was total revenue.
Yeah.
And so it was painful. Introducing a new product into any market is painful. The window and door market is a little bit, again, from what I've heard based off of other industries, this is all I've really known for my professional career, but it seems to be more painful than other industries. We like what we've done. We do things the way we've always done it. Everything from
very
marketing
set in their ways, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
From marketing down through product. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Windows and doors are even installed very similar to what they have been for the last 100 years. There's not a whole heck of a lot that has changed.
You know what I did when I got home, I went to, and I didn't do this when I saw you on the show, but I did it after Tony's event. I went home and I looked at our screens. And they're rigid. For anybody that doesn't know what we're talking about, so we have rigid screens that go into the thing, and they're tough to maneuver. They're tough to get in and out. Yours like bend and fold. What is that material? Because I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, how in the hell did you make this happen? What is that material?
So the frame material is high carbon oil tempered spring steel. So that's a really fancy way of saying it's garage door spring material. So again, go out and look at your garage door springs. They're really big. Our material is the same thing, just a really, really, really small form factor. It's really small. And then we coat it with vinyl. We coat it with PVC. So exactly the same stuff that's on a vinyl window. So that's that frame material that we use. And again, my first prototype was made out of, and the first working prototype was made out of an electrician's fish tape. If you ever seen one, where they fish the wires through the wall.
Yeah.
So that's actually the first working prototype. I was going through like fiberglass, all these different materials, trying to find something. I wasn't trying to do a flexible window screen. I was just trying to come up with a screen that wouldn't get damaged as easy as regular screens.
So the idea was never to come up with a flexible screen. It just so happened it turned out that way.
Yes, it just happened to be
cool.
One of those benefits. Yeah.
How cool.
Yeah. So, that electrician's fish tape it's made out of spring steel. And I used, double face tape, and electrician's fish tape is the first prototype that I could actually show off to our patent attorney and say, hey, this is the way this thing works. It's ugly, but this is the way it works. but yeah, that's what that is. It's spring steel. And like I said, it's really, really small compared to your,
Right.
three
Yeah,
quarters to an
real
inch
thin.
wide.
Yeah.
It's you can't even see it in the window.
Yeah, which is another nice benefit of it.
Yeah.
So first year in business, so you got investors, $2 million, put a facility together. I would imagine at this point you left your job and you went full-time into flex screen. 400,000 your first year. How long before you got into Shark Tank? Because I know you did a few $1 million, or you were up to a few $1 million in revenue by the time you got there, right?
Yeah. So year 4 is when we got contacted by Shark Tank, and really what had happened as the slow yeses were happening, what we came to the realization was that no one was going to go out and market our product to the homeowners. Like, I could go out and show the window manufacturers that this is the greatest thing in the world. It doesn't get damaged as easy. Our remake rate is like 0.03%. It's ridiculously low. It's
wow,
nominal. It's almost a rounding error.
Right.
So, hey, it doesn't get damaged as easy. It hides in the screen pocket. You don't have to have color matching. We could tote all of the amazing benefits to the window manufacturers. But if it didn't get to the window dealers and then didn't get to the homeowners, they didn't care. Like, hey, if the homeowner isn't demanding this, then I can't sell it to my dealers. So we were like, all right, well, what do we do? And this was the first major shift in our company where I said, you know what? We're not going to be salesmen anymore. We're going to be marketers. And so we started doing social media marketing. I didn't have $15 million to go and do 30 seconds on a Super Bowl ad. It's like, hey, this is flex screen. So I'm like, okay, what can we do? I had a young guy who was in video school at the time. We had some iPhones and I had a black curtain. And we started doing some just crazy videos. Me pounding our screen with a hammer while pounding a regular one, throwing them off of the roof, dragging behind ATVs.
Oh, cool. I didn't know about that part.
Yeah, we did all of this, like, and again, it's just me acting silly in front of the camera going, hey, look, I don't care. And it's so funny. Our industry, again, such a mature, weird industry. I had customers and even my sales reps going, you're making a fool of yourself. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't think you understand. Like, if something doesn't change, this company is shutting down. Like, I had to go back to my investors for more money. We diluted, all of those types of that. And investors only want to do that for so long. It's you're kind of like playing at the blackjack table, you know what I mean? Where you're like, okay, you only play for so long trying to make up your losses. And then eventually you're like, I got to get up from the table, So this is like a little act of desperation. And I'm a fun guy anyway. My team might not tell you that, but I just like having some fun. So that change, that shift that we made got the attention of the producers at Shark Tank. And it had also led to us going from $400,000 in year 1 to $5 to $6 million in the beginning, halfway through year 4. So, we were on a pretty big growth trajectory.
That's nice growth.
Yeah, we were.
Were you profitable at that point?
Yes, I mean, again, top line profitable, but we're sinking money back in. You know what I mean? So again, profitable is nobody was pocketing anything, but we were at least covering our costs and having money to money to invest back into the company. Yeah. So I could take a paycheck, which is great. I could get rid of 4
years. Yeah.
I could get rid of my truck that I put 250,000 miles on in the first year. I could get another one, So yes, we were in good financial shape. But yeah, I mean, the Shark Tank, and this is really rare, but the Shark Tank producers actually found us and asked us to be on the show. So typically you go to a cattle call or you send in an application, it's just like American Idol. You go wait in line and you do, you have a minute in front of the producers to impress them to get to the next stage. They asked us to be on the show. So we jumped forward like 6 months of the process. Like we skipped all that.
Well, because I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but my assumption on that is because they saw how you are on video and they thought, oh, hey, this guy's got some entertainment factor, right?
Exactly.
So all that, what did your people say, that you're making a fool out of yourself? The making a fool out of yourself is probably what got you noticed.
It is. That shift that we made back then, I 100% attributed to our current success. Like it would not have happened if we kept selling, if we kept trying to sell. And there's nothing wrong with I still have sales guys. I'm a sales guy. I love selling. But if I wouldn't have become a marketer, then we would not, I think we would have been out of business, just to be honest with you.
Yeah, and if you don't mind me throwing something into here for the listeners, one of the things we talk about here a lot is one of the reasons why companies aren't as successful as they can be is because they're unwilling to break out of what everybody else is doing.
Mm-hmm.
When you look like everybody else, when you sound like everybody else, then, and you go to the prospect, when you go to the consumer, you know, what do they have to compare you against? You sound like everybody else, and you're offering the same product as everybody else. What are they going to look at? They're going to look at your price, right? And they're going to discount you because of your price. Whereas when you stand out from the crowd, when you stand out from everybody else and you do things different, some good stuff starts to happen. So I'm sorry, I had to throw that in there. So they call you, that you get invited to the show.
Yeah, can I, but just on that subject,
yeah,
a book that I read, and I know that your book is fantastic, and we're going to talk about that, but there's a book called Different is, oh man, it's not called Different. Yeah, the quote is different is better than better. It's Fascinate. The book is called Fascinate.
Yeah.
And I read that book, and I read it over again and over again, because that's where we were. You know, I was out trying to do what other screen companies did, and even though my product was completely different.
Yeah.
And so I just said, forget that. I want to be me, you know, or I'm going to be a version of me that is so much, because I could be that sales guy. I can put a suit on and I can comb my hair nice. And I'm like, you know what? I'm a black t-shirt, black baseball hat, tattoo showing, crazy fun. No other company in our industry is doing this.
Right.
I mean, I'm going to top 5 window manufacturers. These are the big guys, right? I'm wearing a baseball cap to the meetings, and I'm giving them baseball caps. Like, put your hat on. Like, come on, I brought these all the way out here for you. And if nothing else, I'm getting remembered.
Let's pause here for a quick break. In today's world, getting a 5-star review on Google from every single one of your customers is critical. This is something that G4 Marketing Group helps hundreds of home improvement and home services companies with every day. So we put together a free 5-star customer experience checklist to help you ensure every one of your customers are getting an experience that will turn them into raving fans. You can get your copy of the customer experience checklist today. Just go to g4marketing.com/CEX. The checklist will walk you through 30 points in your customer journey that you can improve today. That way, you'll be able to turn today's customers into tomorrow's leads, sales, and profits. Just go to g4marketing.com/CEX. That's GFOUR marketing.com/CEX to get your copy of the checklist today. Then, when you're ready to automate your relationship marketing so that your customers grow your business for you, just give G4 Marketing a call at 305-856-8788, and we'll give you a free demo to show you how your future business profits are hiding in today's customers. Now let's get back to the episode.
They invite me out, and again, we fast forward a little bit. You still have to do a lot of things. You know, you still have to, they still have to do due diligence. They want to make sure you're a valid company. You still have to sign the 65-page contract that you can't change in any way, which our attorneys were like, yeah, we wouldn't sign this, but you will.
Right.
That was kind of that was like the, you know.
Yeah, I'm going to get in front of millions and millions of people. And yeah.
And so, you know, through this process, though, you know, there's a lot of considerations when you go onto Shark Tank. You have to prepare for the very real possibility that you're going to go on and be embarrassed. Shark Tank is a TV show. They don't, the producers, the show doesn't care if you make a deal or not. They don't care if your company is successful afterwards. They care that they're getting ratings.
Right.
And that's their job. That's what they should do.
But that's their business, right?
That's their business. I don't fault them for that.
Yeah.
And even the producers, so I have a producing team that was assigned to me. I would meet with them every week. And one of the questions I asked them, like, you know, because they handle you, you know, like, hey, you're doing a great job, you know, like, you know, don't worry about, you know. But I said, when you guys have somebody that's very obviously just going to screw up when they get on, like, how do you guys treat them? They're like, look, we treat them exactly the same. We never want to limit somebody's potential that they have for going on the show. So if they go on and they're prepared and they do their thing, that's fantastic. But they go on and they embarrass themselves because they're not prepared. That's good for us too. Like we're not going to limit their opportunity. So, but anyway, yeah. So they invite us out. They invite me out, and my wife and I go out. And one of the things, again, a little behind the scenes, they bring everybody out that's shooting for that week. So they shoot the entire season of Shark Tank over 4 weeks, 2 weeks in the summer, 2 weeks in the fall. Oh, and so okay. I was out there in the first week, so in June, and they bring people out on Sunday. They shoot Tuesday through Saturday, and then they bring another group out on Sunday, and they do the same thing. So there's a lot of people out there all on this Sunday. We all meet together on Monday, and they do, the meetings. The producers are there, the lawyers, everybody that has anything to do with the show. They all do their little presentations of, hey, this is how this is going to work. Then they're like, okay, surprise, we're going to bring all of your props out, and everybody that works for the show is sitting in this room right now. You have to do your pitch in front of them. And some of you will not make it past this phase. Some of you will get cut today. Oh, wow. Before going in front of the Sharks. And so everybody does their pitch. You line up, like I have my displays, and I'm standing in line, and I'm waiting for the next person. And so I did my pitch, and the producers afterwards are like, "Oh, you did a great job. Good job." I'm like, "Any notes?" They're like, "No, you project well." Yeah, I speak in public, so I project well, all that stuff. They're like, "You did a good job." So they're like, "Go home, have dinner with your wife, do whatever, and we'll see you on Thursday." So I was scheduled to shoot on Thursday afternoon. So that night, again, the head producer, the executive producer says, "Look, some of you will get a call tonight, and you're just going to be going home." And so about 8:30 that night, my wife and I are just finishing up dinner, and I get a phone call, and I see it's the producer's number, like my producer's number. And I'm like, "Oh crap, I'm going home." Like, oh, my wife's like, "It's all right. You know, at least you got this far." Like literally, I haven't even answered the phone yet. We're already like consoling ourselves. So the producer would be like, "Hey Joe, what's going on? I got some good news for you." I'm like, "Look, if this is that, like, hey, I know you were nervous. Good news. You don't have to go and right. film, I'm going to reach to this phone, and he's like, "No, listen," he goes, "You're actually going to be, we're moving you up from Thursday to tomorrow morning." So again, this is Monday night. It's like tomorrow morning, the car will be there at 6 a.m. at your hotel to pick you up. And he was like, "And it's really good news. I'll tell you why later." I'm like, "Oh my goodness." First of all, now I'm like, should I be nervous, excited, disappointed? You have all these like crazy emotions, because 10 seconds ago, I thought I was going home. Now I'm shooting tomorrow morning. And I lost 2 days, like 2 days where I'm like, I could mentally prepare. We were meeting friends to go to the beach on Wednesday, like that kind of stuff. So they pick me up, the next morning. So 6 a.m., right? Pick me up. They put you into a trailer, and they have like cart service, the food service and stuff like that. And so of course you're way too nervous to even consider eating anything. Right. Like I'll go out there, I'll be the first person to throw up on Mr. Wonderful. Like I don't want any coffee. I'm already jittery. Yeah. So I get out to, they bring us in, right? So one of the things about Shark Tank is it's filmed in a huge soundstage, which is just an enormous warehouse, and it's actually the same soundstage as the Wizard of Oz was shot. Just a fun fact. Yeah, they told us that. I'm like, that's cool. But it's enormous. It's one of the biggest warehouses I've ever been in. And in the middle of it is the Shark Tank. And there's all of the support people are all around it, big booths and all that stuff. And there's this little area off to the side that has curtains around it, which is where you go when you're on deck. So they brought the first people in and me in at the same time, right? And so my producers are like, "Hey, listen, you remember when we said that this is a good thing?" They're like, literally, they're whispering as like the other people are getting ready. They're like, what we found is that we need to give the Sharks something, because they're real people. They're not actors or anything like that, right? They said this is the first day of shooting after a long time of being off, and they're really like edgy with the first people. He said, so we take one of the bad pitches and put them first. And because that it gets all their edginess out. He said, but then we put a good pitch second, because if we put bad pitch after bad pitch after bad pitch, they get frustrated, and then literally they have to shut down shooting. So instead of doing 12 people that day, we only end up getting 2 or 3. So we thought you had a really good chance, so we moved you up. These people, when I say that they got like destroyed, they got absolutely destroyed. And I could hear everything that was going on. So as I'm sitting there sweating, right, they're like touching up my makeup and putting the microphones on me and all this stuff, and all I can hear is the sharks beating the snot out of the company that went in front of them. It was, and I shared this at the event that you and I, Mr. Wonderful was saying, you embarrassed your company by coming on here. You better hope that this segment doesn't air. How can you come on here and not know your numbers? Have you not watched the show? I mean, he tore into them. And Mark Cuban said that one of the companies that he had invested in owned IP that he was very confident that they were violating, and that his next call, as soon as they were done, was going to be to his attorneys to send them a cease and desist.
It went about as bad as it could go.
It was the worst one that I've ever experienced, and I'm there on deck.
Did that make it to on air?
The company did, but they took out a lot of that stuff.
Well,
and in
aren't
fairness,
you there for like 45 minutes, but they cut it down to like 4 or 5 minutes?
I was in that. So that's what they tell you. So again, in that meeting, they're like, hey, 20 minutes if it's a bad pitch, about 45 minutes if it's a good one. I was in there for 2 hours and 37 minutes. So I have I have the second longest pitch in Shark Tank history as far as the time that I spent in front of the sharks. So a lot of that had to do with, we were a more mature company. Our financials were a little bit more difficult for them to understand. So, and the sharks do care. Like, they legitimately want to make good deals with good companies. So they're writing stuff down. They have calculators out. They're sitting there like an investment person would, like a VC. If you were pitching in front of a VC, they're sitting there just like that. And they're asking those types of questions. So, but 2 hours and 37 minutes. So that was probably the most exhausting day. I've had some really long days through this whole flex screen journey. That was probably the most exhausting I've ever had. And
you got a deal that time?
Yeah, I got a deal with Lori Grenier. So we had Mr. Wonderful, Barbara, and Lori kind of battling over us, and we had a chance to I jumped on board with Lori, who was very fortunate for us. We thought that she would do the best for us, and so when she jumped in, it was almost like man, if you get your deal even anywhere close, like, she was the one that we wanted to partner with.
Well, what's interesting too is I think that of all of the sharks, I think she is the most successful. Maybe is not quite the right way to say it, but I think of all of the companies that she's bought into, I think she's got the biggest numbers of anybody by far.
She has 8.
Is that true?
She has 8 of the top 10.
8 of the top 10. Yeah.
So she has Scrub Daddy, Squatty Potty. I say this all the time, like, anybody that can take a stool that you use to go to the bathroom and make it a household name, like, she knows what she's doing. She's a marketing, and she's a retail person. She really is. And we almost immediately after, we signed a deal with Saint-Gobain and Home Depot. We're bringing, our product's already on homedepot.com, and it's going to be in the store soon. And so, even seeing her interaction with Home Depot and how, like, even the way that the displays are made, like, she knows what a homeowner wants to see. We in the window industry, like, we get really, we know what we want to hear, or what makes sense to us. But she's like, a homeowner doesn't understand that. Like, no, this is even flexing a screen to her. She's like, no, homeowners bend screens. Like, like it's flex has a different connotation to me than it would to a person that has never experienced our product before. So again, silly little stuff like that, but she's great.
And I'm sorry, but how long ago was this?
So we aired January of last year. So it's been a year and a half since we aired. I filmed 2 years ago. So June of 2019 is when I filmed, and then we aired in January. Okay,
cool. So now when you make the deal, I actually ran into Damon John one day, and I was starting to have a good conversation with him, but I was with one of my dorky friends, and he brought up like, he said some stupid thing, and I'm like, shit. And then that was it, ruined my conversation. But basically, I'm asking them, how in the hell do you go on this? You're buying into all of these different companies. How the hell do you manage it? And Damon is like, I think he's like the lowest one in terms of number of companies that he's actually invested in. And it was interesting. He says he's got a whole team of people. What is the process like after. So you go on the show, you're in there for 2 hours and 37 minutes. You get a deal with Lori, but is it a done deal at that point, or is there still more due diligence before you get a check?
So there's still diligence, and even sometimes renegotiation based off of that diligence. For example, with us, we had a certain path that we thought we were going to go for. We were going to create a separate retail entity that Lori and I would be partners in. You know what I mean? But then my wholesale, where we sell to the window manufacturers, she wasn't going to have anything to do with that. As we were going through this, we had this opportunity with Saint-Gobain, who wanted to have the retail side of it. So then it became like, okay, well, how do we restructure this so that Saint-Gobain's in the middle of it, Lori's, and so then she just became an equity partner of mine over the whole business. Again, typically I shouldn't be saying that stuff, but that's just, those things happen. Or in some cases, the entrepreneurs lie, or they stretch the truth, and through diligence, you find out, the sharks find out that, hey, this is not as good of a company as you said it was. So they just won't finish the deal. I think it's around 50% of the deals on the show actually close. And so, and again, there's a ton of different reasons why, but Lori actually does pretty large amount. She likes products. So even if the diligence proves out that maybe the company isn't the same, she can still find a way for that product, because she wants the product. So like I said, they all kind of have their little niches.
Yeah.
And I've gotten to know a lot of the entrepreneurs that have been on the show, and they all have different ways. Barbara's very hands-on. Lori's very hands-on. Like there's, I'll get phone calls from her 8:00 on a Friday. She's out walking her dog and she has some idea. And I'm like, when did this become normal that Lori Grenier is calling me? This is so weird.
That's cool.
But
she's so sharp too. I mean, she's something else.
They all are. Yep. Robert has a team. Typically with Robert, you don't hear, again, this is my understanding, I don't know this firsthand, but typically you don't hear from him again. Mark Cuban is, he has a team he has teams managing his other teams. He's doing his Mavericks thing and everything else that he's investing in. So, but they have a Shark Tank team that helps out. They do they help the entrepreneurs be successful. That's one of the things that people don't understand. Like the sharks don't come in and run your business. Right. None of them want to do that. No. They're just, with my experience, they're a great resource when I need them. Hey, we're doing something with Home Depot. I would like you to have your hands on this. I'd like to have your eyes on this, whatever the case may be. I'd like you to be part of this discussion. We've had some high level discussions with window manufacturers that, Lori has been a part of. It's just that they're there to support us and help us, but they certainly don't want to get in the weeds and into the muck of day to day.
Of course. I'm looking at the clock. Do you have a few more minutes? You have 10
Yeah,
more
absolutely.
Minutes?
Yeah.
Great. So we could keep going. We talked about this at the beginning. I mean, we could keep going for 2 hours on this. Let's talk about kind of where are you right now? Where's the business now? What are some exciting things that are happening? And then we'll talk about your podcast too, but tell us the business today and what do you do in the business? Who are you in the business today?
I'm the guy who tries to get out of the way every chance that I can. So we have a COO who manages the manufacturing plants, but again, we're a growing business. So, we're lean as we're, dealing with the same pandemic issues as everyone else, as far as labor and raw materials and all those types of things. It's an all hands on deck situation. When we're trying to source new raw materials, I'm involved in that just like everybody else is. When we're looking at new equipment, we have we spent about $1 million on new equipment that's getting delivered in July to expand our capacity. Every one of our plants right now we keep bumping up against our capacity.
How many plants do you have?
We have 4 in the US and 1 in Canada. So wow. we've grown pretty significantly, and we're looking at
why do you have 4 different ones and not one big one?
Because our main business is selling to the window manufacturers. So we want every window that goes out to have flex screen on it as standard. So we have to be geographically close to them because we're a just-in-time supplier. So they place an order on Monday. We're delivering it Tuesday or Wednesday. So we have to be within a couple hours drive of our customers.
Wow, that's
so
interesting.
Yeah. So
that makes it harder though, doesn't it? Because now if you were just in one place, you could just add more machines, one place, one thing, but now you have to go open a whole new plant. Is that as much work as it sounds like?
It is. It's probably more work than it sounds like, but
Yeah.
and especially in these times, in the past, it was less problematic. We essentially, hey, we have a good person that can run this operation, give them the support that they need, and they're off to the races. Give them the equipment and the support, and they can start producing. Now those key people are harder to find. They're more expensive, and then just the day-to-day workers are harder to find and more expensive. So
how many screens are you guys making a day now?
Somewhere around, man, that's a good question. See here, 2, 3, 6,000 roughly.
6,000 a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're and then we're also opening up a facility in New York that's only going to be for retail. So, our retail side, between Shark Tank, and then we did a Shark Tank update, which was, when they come back in and they do another couple minutes with us, and then Home Depot has been crushing us, and you can't buy one in the store yet. This is just their online. So we're opening up a plant.
How do you account for the different, do you have set sizes for, I know this is a dumb question, but do you have set sizes for Home Depot? Like, how am I going to go to your, because I saw your display that you're putting together for Home Depot. I don't know where I saw it, but
so they're going to
lift one out and put it in.
They're going to carry stock sizes based off of the windows that they have in stock.
I see.
Yeah. So if you have a 3050 X brand, whatever, you know what I mean, they'll have a screen that fits it, and you'll be able to buy it off the store. But otherwise, we came up with a measuring tool that you can take home. So you buy it for a couple bucks in the Home Depot, in the aisle at Home Depot. You go home, you measure your windows, and then you put the measurements in online. But right now, for all of our e-commerce, whether it's flexscreen.com or at Home Depot, we actually had to train people on how to measure for their screens. So we actually have step-by-step, like, here's where your screen sits. Here's, if you have a single hung, this is how you measure.
And you're making everything to order?
Everything is custom sized.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah. So now we have great equipment. I mean, it's all, when a homeowner sends in, or a window manufacturer, whatever, we're not actually typing those in. It's coming through, through the ERP system.
But
yeah, we're not picking and pulling.
Custom. Wow.
Yeah. Yep. Everything's custom. So
that's cool.
So that's exciting. Again, we have the new equipment. We have some strategic partnerships with large window manufacturers that are causing us to continue to grow geography. We were looking, we were down south looking at some buildings 2 weeks ago. So again, we're just in growth mode. So that's, and we've only started with Home Depot just because that was the first company that Saint-Gobain jumped on with. We're actually holding off the other guys because we don't have the capacity.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What kind of volume do you think you're going to do? What are you projecting this year?
Again, we look at total sales. We'll do right around 20 million this year.
And then what about 3 years from now? Where do you think you'll be 3 years from now?
Well, we have doubled every year. So I'm not sure that I could personally just keep sustaining the growth, but it seems like, we should be following that trend again, just based off of, conversations and commitments that we're getting right now. We're in an interesting point where we're now limited by manufacturing capacity.
Yeah.
So we're spending money as fast as we can. So 3 years from now could be completely different, based off of our equipment manufacturers being able to keep up with us.
Yeah.
So, but we feel pretty confident if we have the capacity, the sales will continue doing that. I mean, it's, again, the window industry is really, the home improvement industry is really interesting. Resist. And then it's like, holy cow, those guys have it. I need to have it too. And so the snowball gets really, really big, really, really fast.
How is your pricing compared to a traditional screen?
Wholesale, it's about the same. So to a window manufacturer, they can't really make a screen for cheaper than they can buy one for me, or they can't buy one cheaper. So for those window dealers that are out there, you tell your window manufacturer you want flex screen on your windows, and then
to the end consumer, they can get a flex screen for the same price as they were going to get the old clunky screen, right?
Yeah, standard on their window. So, but for a homeowner buying one from Home Depot, I want to say it's like $60, $59, because there's shipping involved. There's Home Depot has to make some money. All those types of things.
Right.
But right now, a lot of cost of shipping anything is just through the roof. So, but again, $60 is, if you go down to Ace Hardware and say, hey, I need a new screen with all this stuff on it, you're probably paying $50 or $60 anyway. So,
Right.
and this one's custom made.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I could keep going with all these little.
I know.
I know. We both have to go, but talk a little bit about. So you've got an interesting you're doing some other really cool stuff, but you've got a new podcast coming out. You want to talk a little bit about that because it sounds really cool.
Yeah. So right after I appeared on the show, I started writing a blog called Lessons from the Tank, and this is just literally, it's just a give back. It's just like me verbalizing some of the lessons that I've learned through this experience, everything from, making sure that you're prepared. And I try to bring everything back to Shark Tank. And I'm part of a community now of these entrepreneurs that have been on the show. So we talk to each other, we have meetups, we're a social group. We're also kind of a round table.
You're a support group.
We really are in a lot of ways.
Entrepreneurs need support groups.
We do. We 100% do. And so I was kicking around this idea. I'm like, hey, I wrote this blog, and some people were like, man, that's really great. And I'm like, I also do this other podcast with my wife. We do like, it's called Dare to Be Different. I'm like, would anybody be interested in doing a podcast about the lessons that we've learned? And it was like, I had this overwhelming, response. And so we started a podcast called Lessons from the Tank. And I think you can go on my website, which is joealtieri.com, or I think it's lessonfromthetankpodcast.com. And we just started it. My first guest was Tiffany Crummins, who was season number 1, episode number 1, and winner number 1.
No way.
And she has an incredible story. I mean, this is 12 years ago. No one knew what Shark Tank was. She was on the pilot. And immediately after she got a deal with Barbara. She got diagnosed with cancer. And so she just has a fantastic story about, the trials and tribulations of being an entrepreneur and having that right mindset, as we were talking about earlier, having that can do whatever it takes mindset that made her such a success. And she now helps other entrepreneurs, mainly women entrepreneurs, be successful in their businesses. And so like I said, we're just having a lot of fun. It's a bunch of people.
And it's called Lessons
from the Tank. Yep. So you can look it up.
You can get it everywhere.
All the usual. Yep.
We'll put it into the show notes. We'll make sure and put it into the show notes.
Awesome.
So people know how to find it. Well, Joe, thank you. I was actually, I got to tell you, so I was debating on whether I should tell you this or not. But I'm just gonna say it. It's just you and me anyway. No one's
and your millions of listeners. But that's
when I first saw Joe from Shark Tank, the flex screen guy, I thought you would just be like I'm the best, and I was on Shark Tank, and I'm the man. But when I met you and you're from your presentation, you're a really nice guy.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that.
You're like I keep waiting for the asshole to come through. Like, look at me and my ego, and I'm great, and you guys are peons, and because you get some of that from people. But you're actually a really, really nice guy, and I appreciate that. I think that's really cool.
The fact of the matter is, everybody that has done anything, we've made tons and tons of mistakes,
right?
And we continue making tons and tons of. And if you're not grounded, and you get that my poop doesn't stink type, man, is that fall becomes really, really hard. And I truly love giving back. I do. I'm speaking. I speak at colleges and chambers of commerce and rotaries and stuff like that. And my whole message is like, hey, if I can help you not make a mistake that I did, man, my half an hour, my 45 minutes is worth it.
Yeah. So, and that's what this is all about. That's what this podcast is also all about. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Everybody go check out Lessons from the Tank. And I got to do the pitch for the 7 Secrets book. If you have not gotten your copy of the 7 Secrets to Becoming a Wealthy Contractor yet, what are you waiting for? Go get a copy. It's free. I buy the book. You pay for shipping. Just go to thewealthycontractor.com. Joe, again, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I will probably reach out to you again in the future just to kind of see, the progress. Sounds like you're going to be just killing it for years to come. And I'm really happy for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time and all of your listeners putting up with me for the last half hour. So thanks so much.
All right, cool. So everybody, until next time, this is Brian Kaskavalcian with G4 Marketing Group, and this is the Wealthy Contractor Podcast. Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Wealthy Contractor Podcast. Let me ask you, did it help you look at your business in a different way? Did it spark an idea or ideas that you hadn't thought of before? Do you have a list of action items that you can take and implement into your business or your life today? I really hope so. If it did, I'd like to ask you a favor. Would you leave a 5-star review of the podcast? By doing so, you'll help other contractors find the podcast more easily so that we can help them achieve more success, wealth, and freedom. And before you go, make sure you subscribe to the Wealthy Contractor Podcast so you get access to the latest episodes as soon as they're available. We're always striving to provide you with great content, so you don't want to miss what's coming up. In fact, if you haven't already, make sure you go to thewealthycontractor.com and get your free copy of my latest book, The 7 Secrets to Becoming a Wealthy Contractor. Just pay shipping and handling, and I'll take care of the cost of the book. And finally, a big thanks to G4 Marketing for sponsoring the Wealthy Contractor Podcast. For over 12 years now, G4 Marketing has been the secret back office relationship marketing team for hundreds of home improvement and home service businesses just like yours. You get the customer, and our proven system turns that customer into 5-star reviews and profitable repeat and referral business. If your home improvement or home services company completes at least 10 jobs per month, they have a solution that will work for you. To find out more, sign up for your free, no obligation, 10-minute discovery call at www.g4marketing.com/strategy. That's GFOUR marketing.com/strategy. Set your discovery call up today, and they'll help you set your business up for long-term profits and success. So until next time, this is Brian Kaskavalcian.